All right, so in this problem, we are going to be doing division with decimals, and you'll notice we have a two-digit divisor, and both the dividend and the divisor have decimals in them. So let's take a look at the steps that we need to do to finish this problem. So the first thing you need to know is that you cannot divide by a decimal. So we are going to have to change this into a whole number. Now to do that, we're going to have to multiply by a power of 10, which means we'll multiply by 10, 100, or 1,000. Or more if you need to. And then what we do to this divisor, we also have to do to the dividend. So let's take a look at how we would solve this. First off, I know this is my divisor. So this number is always going to go on the outside of my division bar. Okay, so this number is the number that's being divided. So it's going to go inside the division bar. Okay, now the first thing I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and move my decimal. So I no longer have a decimal in my problem. So to do this, because I have one decimal place, I need to move it one place. So we would say that's like multiplying by 10. So I'm going to move that one place to the right, and now you'll notice I have 23. All right, now what we do to the divisor, we have to do to our dividend. So I'm also going to move that one place, multiply it times 10. Now, even though this has two decimals, you still only move it once, because what you do to your divisor is the same thing you do to your dividend. So now I'm going to rewrite that number, 163 and 3/10. So notice I'm going to keep that decimal there. You are allowed to have a decimal in the dividend, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and see how many times 23 will go into this number. Now to help me out, I'm actually going to count by 20s. I'm going to use what we call an estimated method, where I'm going to estimate that number, and that'll help me do less guessing and checking as we go. So I'm going to count by 20s, and then I'm going to use that. So to do that, I'm actually going to do that right here. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, and 200. Now once I get to the 10th multiple, I can stop. I don't need to go any farther than that. So remember, this is just helping me get close, so I have less guessing and checking. I may have to go up a digit or down a digit. Now because I rounded down, it's very possible I'm going to have to go down a digit, like I might be a little too high. So whenever you round down, you might have to go down a little bit. Whenever you round up, you might have to go up one. Okay, so it just kind of varies. So let's see, does 23 go into 1? It does not. We'll say 0 times. Does 23 go into 16? It does not. It's not big enough. But can 23 go into 163? We would say yes. Now I'm going to use this to help me guesstimate. Okay, so I think it's closer to 163 than it is to 180. So I'm going to choose 160. So times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 6, times 7, times 8. So we're going to try 8 first. So 23 times 8. So we're going to take 8 times 3, which is 24, carry the 2. 8 times 2, which is 16, carry the 2, which is 184. So you know how I mentioned that it might be a little too high if you round down. So it looks like we're just a little too high, because if I put 184 here, you can't subtract that from 163. So let's go ahead and try 7. So let's take 23 times 7. Let's check this one. So we're going to say 7 times 3 is 1, carry the 2. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16. So we get 161. So that is going to work. So we'll put our 7 here, and we'll subtract our 161. Now remember, because you're estimating, you can't multiply by 20. I could not put 160 here. I actually have to use this number, because that's the number we're dividing by. This just helps me estimate and get close, so I don't have to keep checking a lot of numbers. I'm usually right on the first or second try. Okay, and I'm going to keep both of these numbers because I might need them again. So don't get rid of these, don't erase them, always show all of your work. Okay, all right, so we've got 3 minus 1 is going to be 2, 6 minus 6 is nothing. 1 minus 1 is nothing. All right, so I'm going to drop down my 3. And I can actually already see that 23 does go into 21 one time. I don't really even need to use my chart, but even my guesstimation tells me it's one time. So I'm going to say that it goes one time. 1 times 23 is 23. And that is how you solve when you have 2 digits and 1 decimal place. Now, if you want to check your work and make sure it's correct, don't forget, you can always, oh, I did forget something. This actually has a decimal. So don't forget to put your decimal right here, okay? So when you have a decimal in your dividend, it goes straight up, okay? Now, if I do want to check my work, I can take this number times this number, and this should be the answer I get. So 7 1/10 times 2, 23. And let's just do that real quick, and you can see that we have it correct. All right, so 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 7 is 21. Now I'm multiplying by 20, or we call it the second digit on the bottom row, so I have to drop a 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 7 is 14. 3, 3, 6, 1. And because I have 1 decimal place up here, I have 0 decimal places here. I add those together, and my final answer has to have 1 decimal place. So that means I'm going to put it here, and sure enough, my 2 numbers are the same, so we have done it properly.